Welcome back to Superbly Said Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, of course. So real quick, today's material is actually pulled straight from a SpeakDuo lesson. If you haven't checked them out yet, you should definitely head over to SpeakDuo.com.
It's a really great resource.
It really is. It's this fantastic place to meet new people from all around the world who are practicing English on video calls, really helping you become much more confident with your speaking abilities.
Absolutely.
And for this deep dive into the source material, our mission is strictly focused on mastering a specific set of idioms designed for advanced English learners.
Right, but we aren't just going to memorize definitions today.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, instead we are going to explore this really fascinating concept of how English speakers actually use physical space, to map out their psychological stress and success in the workplace.
It's so interesting. So jumping right into the flow of workplace communication, let's look at the first phrase. To fill someone in on something.
Right. So fundamentally, this just means providing someone with missing details or, the latest updates about a situation.
Right.
But the way we use it implies a very, very specific kind of information transfer.
I always visualize this as putting the final missing pieces into a jigsaw puzzle.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah, imagine you are staring at a 1,000-piece puzzle on a table. You already know the general outline, right? You can see it's a picture of a mountain landscape.
Yeah, you have the big picture.
Exactly. But there's a glaring hole right in the center. You don't need someone to describe the mountain to you. You just need those specific missing pieces to actually see the whole picture clearly.
That puzzle visual captures the nuance perfectly, actually, especially when you compare filling someone in to simply giving a summary.
Because people confuse those two all the time.
All the time, yeah. A summary is like handing someone the box the puzzle came in.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. It's a broad, general overview designed for just about anyone, like the intern, the CEO, a client.
Right. Anyone can look at the box.
Exactly. But filling someone in implies that you are targeting the very specific holes in knowledge that a particular person missed. You are customizing the information delivery.
In a workplace setting, this happens constantly. If I'm talking to a colleague, I might say, hey, I missed the morning meeting. Could you fill me in on the main points?
Right. You just want the specific data you missed.
Yeah. Or if I've been away on vacation, I might tell someone, oh, my teammate filled me in on the project's progress.
But, information rarely flows perfectly like that.
True. Very true.
So what happens when someone has the puzzle pieces you need, but they actively refuse to hand them over?
Oh, that is the worst.
It is. And that behavior brings us to the phrase, to beat around the bush.
Okay, yes.
This describes the act of avoiding the main point directly, very often because the topic itself is just awkward or uncomfortable.
It's funny you say that because I always hear people use going off on a tangent in similar office scenarios.
That's a good point.
If someone starts talking about something totally unrelated, aren't they just beating around the bush?
Well, the distinction really comes down to intent. Going off on a tangent is usually an accidental distraction. Picture a meeting where someone starts talking about quarterly profits. They remember a funny story about a client, and suddenly they're talking about their golden retriever.
Right. They just completely got lost.
Exactly. Beating around the bush, however, is a highly intentional strategy. It is a deliberate, conscious choice to avoid an uncomfortable truth.
So it's on purpose.
Yes. You ask about the budget deficit, and they start talking about, holistic, long-term synergy. They know exactly what they're doing.
I have to push back a little here, though.
Sure, go for it.
Is beating around the bush always a malicious or negative trait? Because sometimes, isn't it just a necessary form of corporate politeness?
How do you mean?
Well, you don't want to bluntly tell someone their marketing idea is terrible in front of the whole team, right?
Yeah.
So you beat around the bush to soften the blow. You cushion the impact.
That's fair. It definitely functions as a cushioning tactic in delicate social situations.
Yeah, exactly.
But from a strict management perspective, that cushion usually leads to massive inefficiency.
Oh, I can see that.
Think about a boss or a manager who just needs absolute clarity to make a payroll decision. Eventually, the politeness becomes an obstacle.
They just need the answer.
Right. They might finally snap and say, please stop beating around the bush and tell me your final decision. They don't have time for the cushion. They desperately need the bottom line.
That makes total sense. And honestly, a lot of the time, the reason someone is dodging the question and beating around the bush is because they've suddenly realized that their original plan isn't actually going to work.
Yeah.
It was never grounded in reality to begin with.
And when someone realizes their plan was pure fantasy all along, we leave the realm of reality and enter what we call a pipe dream.
A pipe dream.
Yeah. A pipe
Yeah.
dream is an unrealistic hope or fantasy that is highly unlikely to ever happen. It's just an illusion.
Now, I hear people use the phrase long shot when discussing risky business ideas. How do we separate a long shot from a pipe dream?
This raises an important question about the mathematics of probability, actually.
Okay.
A long shot has a tiny mathematical chance of success. It's improbable, yes, but it is physically and logically possible.
Right. There's a chance, however small.
Exactly. A pipe dream, fundamentally, is practically impossible. It's rooted in pure fantasy rather than difficult odds.
So, like, what's a practical example of that?
Well, applying for a CEO position when you only have 1 year of middle management experience is a long shot.
Yeah, unlikely but possible.
Right. But expecting to be handed the CEO position on your very first day in the workforce with 0 experience whatsoever, that is a pipe dream.
That's a fantastic distinction. And, if you were taking the IELTS speaking exam, specifically Part 2, where you have to speak at length, you could use this beautifully to show off your vocabulary range.
Oh, absolutely.
Like if the prompt asks about a childhood memory or ambition, you could say, as a child, I had a pipe dream of inventing a single machine that would fix everything in the world.
That's a great example.
It instantly tells the examiner you understand nuanced advanced English.
It paints a perfect picture of innocent delusion. And naturally, the exact opposite of a fragile pipe dream would be a plan that is airtight.
Airtight. I love that word.
Yeah, if something is airtight, it is completely secure without any flaws or loopholes whatsoever.
The imagery of airtight is so powerful. I immediately picture a submarine deep in the ocean.
Yeah, well, that's a good one.
Yeah, like you're underwater, the physical pressure from the ocean is immense, pushing on the hull from every single angle.
Yeah, it's intense.
In that scenario, if there's even one tiny leak, like one microscopic invisible flaw in the steel, the whole thing goes down. The stakes are total.
That submarine visual highlights the crucial nuance between an airtight plan and a merely solid plan.
Because a solid plan isn't perfect.
Exactly. A solid plan is good, it's robust, it's well thought out. But with a solid plan, you accept that there might be minor risks or things that could go slightly wrong. You have a contingency fund.
You expect some leaks.
Right. An airtight plan leaves absolutely 0 room for failure, misinterpretation, or counterarguments.
But practically speaking, is it even possible to create a truly airtight travel plan, for example?
That is tough.
Because given how completely unpredictable airlines, weather, and lost luggage are, I feel like trying to make international travel airtight is a pipe dream in itself.
Yeah, making a physical journey airtight is incredibly difficult, almost impossible. That's why in a workplace context, the standard is usually applied to strategy, logic, and legal contracts.
Makes sense.
For instance, a boss might review a proposal and say, we should ensure we have an airtight plan before making these financial commitments to the client. They are demanding 0 legal or financial loopholes before signing the paperwork.
Yet, ironically, even the most meticulously crafted, airtight plans can be completely derailed by a single, unexpected physical intrusion.
Which brings us to the phrase, to barge in on someone.
Yes, barging in.
This means to interrupt someone abruptly, or to enter a space without permission.
Let's look at the spatial mapping we mentioned at the beginning. How does barging in differ from just simple interrupting?
It's all about the physical boundary. Interrupting is usually verbal, it happens in the flow of dialogue, and it can actually be quite polite.
Like saying, excuse me for interrupting, but I have a question.
Exactly. But barging in is inherently physical, sudden, and often clumsy. It requires crossing a spatial boundary that wasn't meant to be crossed.
Like barging through a closed door.
Yes. You enter a private office without knocking.
The shock value is the key, I think. Like in a modern remote workplace setting, you might be horrified and say, oh my gosh, I accidentally barged in on a video call because I didn't realize it was happening.
Right, you crossed a digital boundary uninvited.
Or in a traditional physical office, a frustrated manager might put a sign up saying, please always knock before you barge in on someone who is working. It's deeply jarring to the nervous system.
And if people constantly cross those boundaries and barge in on you, disrupting your focus, it will inevitably provoke an extreme psychological reaction. Yeah. We call this being driven up the wall. To drive someone up the wall means to annoy or frustrate them intensely.
I love how visual these phrases are. So what separates being driven up the wall from just getting on someone's nerves?
The difference lies entirely in the intensity and the feeling of confinement. Getting on someone's nerves is a mild, simmering irritation.
Like someone clicking their pen.
Exactly. Someone clicking their pen is annoying, but you can tolerate it while you work.
What?
Driving someone up the wall is extreme visual frustration.
The whole other level.
It is. It implies a feeling so trapped and agitated by the annoyance that your animal instinct is to literally scale the drywall to escape the room. You want to climb the walls to get away from the source of the stress.
Again, for an IELTS Part 2 response, if you're asked to describe something that annoys you, you can lean into that visual.
Definitely.
You could say, people leaving dirty dishes in the sink drives me up the wall, or the constant loud noises from the street can drive anyone up the wall. It really conveys a level of exasperation that simple words like angry or annoyed just can't reach.
And to avoid getting driven up the wall by all this workplace chaos, the best defense is usually extreme preparation.
Which means?
You have to secure a spatial advantage, which leads to the phrase, to stay one step ahead of someone.
Okay.
This means to anticipate others' actions or future events and act first to gain a distinct advantage.
Let's look at the nuance here, because in business, people constantly talk about keeping pace with the competition or keeping pace with their massive workload.
Right. Keeping pace with means you are simply matching the speed of your competitors or your deadlines.
So you're just surviving.
Exactly. If they take a step, you take a step. You are surviving the race. Staying one step ahead means you are entirely proactive. You are acting before the issue even arises. You are leading the dance.
It's exactly like playing a high-level game of chess.
Oh, that's a perfect comparison.
Yeah, because a novice player is just reacting to the piece their opponent just moved. They are keeping pace. But a grandmaster isn't looking at the current move. They are planning for the move their opponent is going to make 3 turns from now.
Right. They are staying one step ahead, mentally living in the future of the board.
In terms of daily workplace time management, it's about anticipating the bottleneck. You might observe a highly efficient colleague and say she stays one step ahead of her deadlines by preparing a clear to-do list each morning. It's that proactive, calculated advantage.
Of course, the reality is that many people fail to stay one step ahead.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
They get caught entirely unprepared, everything falls apart, and to defend themselves, they usually resort to our final phrase, a blatant cop-out.
A blatant cop-out.
Yeah. A blatant cop-out is an obvious, lazy excuse used to avoid doing something difficult or to avoid taking responsibility.
Everyone makes excuses occasionally, though. So what elevates a standard excuse to a blatant cop-out?
It's the audacity of it. A weak excuse might actually be genuine, it's just unconvincing.
Like bad traffic?
Right. Maybe you really were caught in unusually bad traffic, but your boss thinks you still should have left earlier. A blatant cop-out, however, is aggressively obvious in its laziness.
It's just a terrible excuse.
It's a transparent, almost insulting refusal to accept blame, where the person making the excuse knows that's a lie, and they know you know it's a lie.
Honestly, if I'm at work, how can I professionally tell a colleague that their excuse is a blatant cock-out without starting a massive HR-level argument? Calling someone's excuse blatant feels incredibly confrontational.
Because it is such strong, direct language, it's generally best used in third-party analysis or post-mortem reviews rather than direct face-to-face confrontation.
Oh, I see.
For example, reviewing a past project with a supervisor, you might observe, blaming minor software issues for major project failures is a blatant cop-out. You are critiquing the logic, not shouting at the person.
That makes sense.
And in daily life with family, it's a bit easier to use playfully. You could say, saying, I forgot to avoid household chores is a blatant cop-out.
We have unpacked a ton of rich, advanced vocabulary today. To help lock it all in, it's time for a quick superbly said quiz to test your memory of these phrases.
Sounds good.
I'm going to read a scenario along with 3 options. Feel free to pause the audio here if you need to think about the answer between the options and the reveal. Let's see how many you can get right.
Let's do it.
Question 1. When the manager returned from her week-long conference, her assistant immediately scheduled a meeting to fill her in. This means the assistant wanted to, option A, provide her with new tasks and delegate the remaining paperwork. Option B, update her on all the critical events that had transpired recently. Or, option C, conceal the administrative errors that had occurred during her absence.
The correct answer is option B. To fill her in. When you want to fill someone in, you are aiming to update them on all the critical events they missed.
Just like handing someone the exact missing pieces of that jigsaw puzzle we talked about.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to question 2. Rather than giving a straightforward assessment of the project's failure, the consultant continued to beat around the bush. The consultant was option A, avoiding addressing the core issues and instead discuss minor details. Option B, aggressively confronting the management team regarding their strategic oversights. Or option C, praising the team's efforts while subtly undermining their final conclusions.
The correct answer is option A. To beat around the bush, the consultant who chooses to beat around the bush is actively avoiding addressing the core, uncomfortable issues.
That intentional, calculated dodge we see in so many corporate meetings. Let's look at question 3. Given the current economic climate and their limited funding, the startup's goal of global domination is largely considered a pipe dream, which is, option A, a highly probable outcome if they secure enough angel investors. Option B, an innovative strategy that disrupts the traditional market paradigms entirely. Or option C, an unrealistic fantasy that has very little chance of materializing.
The correct answer is option C, a pipe dream. Remember, a pipe dream isn't just a long shot, it's an unrealistic fantasy with virtually zero chance of happening.
Like my childhood goal of inventing a single machine that magically fixes the whole world.
Exactly like that.
Question 4. The constant rhythmic tapping of the radiator throughout the freezing winter months began to drive the tenants up the wall. Meaning it began to go first. Option A, soothe the residents into a deep and highly restful slumber. Option B, profoundly irritate and frustrate the tenants beyond their breaking point. Or option C, subtly blend into the ambient background noise of the apartment.
The correct answer is option B, to drive the tenants up the wall. The tapping noise was enough to drive the tenants up the wall, meaning it profoundly irritated and frustrated them.
It gives you that desperate feeling of wanting to physically climb the drywall to escape the annoyance.
Yes, that animal instinct.
Here is question 5. It is considered highly unprofessional in corporate environments to barge in on someone. Which refers to option A, politely requesting an audience with the executives during their breaks. Option B, gently knocking on the door before entering a private workspace. Or option C, abruptly entering a colleague's office without waiting for prior permission.
The correct answer is option C, to barge in on someone. When you abruptly enter a room without permission, you barge in on someone crossing a physical boundary.
The ultimate video call nightmare.
Oh, the worst.
Question 6. The defense attorney meticulously reviewed the contract to ensure that their legal strategy was airtight. Ensuring it was option A, completely secure and entirely devoid of any exploitable legal loopholes. Option B, vaguely worded to allow for multiple favorable interpretations later on. Or option C, moderately comprehensive but still open to potential counter-arguments from prosecutors.
The correct answer is option A, airtight. An airtight legal strategy is completely secure and leaves absolutely no room for flaws or loopholes.
Just like our submarine analogy, one tiny leak and the whole plan collapses under the pressure.
Yep, it goes down.
Question 7. To maintain their competitive edge in the rapidly evolving tech industry, the company must stay one step ahead of their rivals. By option A, reactively adapting to the latest trends introduced by rival corporations. Option B, proactively anticipating market shifts and innovating before their competitors do. Or option C, consistently imitating the successful business models of established industry leaders.
The correct answer is option B, to stay one step ahead. When a company is able to stay one step ahead, they are proactively anticipating shifts before anyone else.
Playing chess, not checkers.
Exactly.
And finally, question 8. When asked why he failed to submit the report, claiming that his computer was too slow was seen as a blatant cop-out. Or option A, a legitimate and fully justifiable reason for the unfortunate delay. Option B, a highly technical explanation requiring further investigation by IT staff. Or option C, an obvious and lazy excuse to avoid taking personal responsibility.
The correct answer is option C, a blatant cop-out. Blaming slow technology for a major personal failure is almost always viewed as a blatant cop-out, an obvious and lazy excuse.
That wraps up our quiz. I hope you aced it.
As we close out, I want to return to that provocative thought we touched on earlier.
Oh, right, the physical space idea.
Yeah, think about how our choice of vocabulary physically shapes our reality. Notice how many of the phrases we dissected today rely heavily on physical space, boundaries, and spatial advantages.
It's completely true. When you lay them all out together, The pattern is undeniable.
You are physically barging in through a doorway. You are being driven up a literal wall by your frustration. You are searching for an airtight container to protect your plans from pressure. You are standing one physical step ahead of your competition.
It's also visual.
It is. By mastering these advanced idioms, you aren't just memorizing a dry vocabulary list, you are actually learning how English speakers spatially map their psychological stress and their professional success.
It really is like building a three-dimensional map of your communication. I highly encourage you to take that map and try using at least one of these spatial idioms in your very next conversation, or perhaps your next IELTS practice session. See how it feels to physically place your words and command the space around you. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into the source material, and we will catch you next time.